Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Distinguished Commerce and Senior Professor Kapila Seniviratna, Dean, Faculty of Graduate Studies and Chairman, Research Council, University of California. Keynote speaker, Dr. S.N. Morales, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, the Open University of Sri Lanka. Professor Ruwan Abbesekara, Head, Department of Finance, Senior Professor Chitra Ranjani, Professor Susima Valigamage, all the lecturers and my dear students. On behalf of the Department of Finance, University of California, we warmly welcome you all for the 11th Students Research Symposium 2023. The theme of the 11th Students Research Symposium is Revitalizing Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises to Develop the Export Economy in Sri Lanka. Today's event, the Students Research Symposium, is an annual event organized by the Department of Finance to enhance the research culture among the undergraduates. Further, it would help find in new knowledge and to bridge knowledge gaps in the society. The speciality of this year's event is, prior to the Students Research Symposium, the Viva Voce examination was conducted for 180 students and their dissertations were evaluated by 20 academic supervisors. Today, we are proudly presenting the 11th Students Research Symposium, marking this achievement as well. We will publish the abstract proceedings in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, to officially inaugurate the event, let's join with the university anthem to pay tribute
Desakitu gosa kurumaya suratina siya suwenda vidu kirana bedadena sada sadaki vidu lakare udajina kelaniya sarasa vimata kelaniya sarasa Keleniya sarasa vimata කෙලනිය සරසවි මාතා විදුවම්බරේ බැබලේවා සිය දෙස කිතු ගොස කුරුමය සුරකින සිය සුරඳ විදු කිරණ බෙදා දෙන සදා සඳකි විදුලතර උදාදින කෙලනිය සරසවි මාතා විදුවම්බරේ බැබලේවා
University of California is an inspiring true leader that has guided us to achieve many milestones throughout this journey. He is always a guide, a mentor, and the greatest teacher to us. Ron Abesekara obtained his PhD specializing in entrepreneurship from Bournemouth University, UK. Further, he obtained his MBA from the University of Colombo and his first degree in science in industrial management from the University of California. He is also qualified in CIM UK. His expertise is in entrepreneurship and microfinance. He is an expert in the case study method of qualitative research. His research interests include microfinance and entrepreneurship. He has published his research findings in peer-reviewed index journals, and some of these journals are indexed in Scopus and ABS databases. Further, he has participated in many local and foreign conferences to present his research findings. Moreover, he serves on the editorial boards and review panels in reputed journals. He has won Senate and Vice Chancellor awards for his research work. Now, I cordially invite Professor Ruan Abesekara, Head Department of Finance, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Subhani. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Right. Good morning to everyone. Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Chief Guest for today's event. Senior Professor Kapila Senviratna, Chairman, Research Council, Guest of Honor for today's event. Dr. S.N. Moraes, Senior Lecturer, former Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences of Open University, keynote speaker for today's event. Heads of departments, Professor Chitra Ranjani, Professor Susima, and staff of the Department of Finance, and my dear students. It is my honor and privilege to welcome to the Students Research Symposium organized by the Department of Finance. It is being organized. Symposium's theme is revitalizing micro, small, medium enterprises to develop the export economy in Sri Lanka. We have included 2 new features in this year's research symposium. They are poster presentation of our undergraduates and workshops on converting your dissertation into research paper. This year's symposium is organized on online mode. First of all, I would like to congratulate our undergraduates who have finished their research work. More than 180 students have completed their research work and are about to submit their final theses. The undergraduates of Department of Finance have to conduct a research under the supervision of academic staff members as a partial fulfillment of their degree programs. And undergraduate exerts efforts in an year to complete the thesis. And it is a good experience for them to expose to the research world. There are many benefits that research provides to these undergraduates. For example, understanding research process, ability to integrate results, building transferable skills, and enhancing their CVs, learning to publicly defend work, getting leg up on graduate programs, exploring career directions, getting to know faculty members, and establishing long-lasting relationship and contributing to knowledge and impacting the world are some of the benefits. In addition to these benefits that provide to undergraduates, these undergraduate research provide benefits to our staff members as well. For example, our staff can jointly publish their research work. Thanks to the curricular's research component, I am glad to say that now our faculty members publish their work with the students. On behalf of the Department of Finance, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean of the Faculty, the chief guest for today's event. It is a pleasure for me to welcome Professor Kapila Seneviratne, Dean of Faculty of Graduate Studies and the Chairman of Research Council, who is always supporting us to enhance our research skills. I feel grateful to welcome Dr. S.N. Moraes of Open University, who is delivered the keynote address today. I would also like to welcome the heads of the departments, all the staff members of the department, academics, and my dear students, the dissertation coordinator and the team for organizing this research symposium. Further, I would like to thank Dr. Surangi and Dr. Ruani Fernando for accepting our invitations to be the resource persons for the workshops that we conduct today. I welcome you once again to the 11th Students Research Symposium with greater enthusiasm. Thank you very much and hope you will have a very fruitful and pleasant research symposium today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. One of the faculties in the university strengthening the platform where knowledge is created. It has come a long way with the constant support and guidance from Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. Dr. Narada Fernando successfully completed his PhD, specialized in finance, from the Central China Normal University in China. He obtained his master's degree in West Bengal University of Technology in India and has earned his degree from the University of Kelaniya. Further, he engages in diverse research topics, including market efficiency, behavioral finance, and education development. Dr. Narada Fernando was consecutively appointed twice as the Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. During his tenure as the Dean, the faculty achieved new heights in terms of academics, research, and industry relations. Additionally, he has been a resource person for capital market publications as well. Now, I cordially invite our chief guest of this event, Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Subhani, and very good morning to all of you. So today the network connection is not that better in university side, so there may be some issues while we are going on the session. And Senior Professor Kapila Seneviratne, Dean, Faculty of Graduate Studies, and our keynote speaker today, Dr. Morais from Open University of Sri Lanka, and Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, and all the staff members of the department, and dear students. So it is a great pleasure to address you all in this morning in this 11th Student Research Symposium. Actually, I can remember that the idea came with Professor Susima Veligamage, and that was the first ever Student Research Symposium from the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, started in Department of Finance. And now we are on the 11th milestone. Hope that we can continue it for another few decades. And today's theme, that when it comes to SMEs, to develop the export economy. So we all know that as a country, we are going with a lot of issues and a lot of troubles. But at the same time, if you look into the news lines going in, even in today's morning also, Bloomberg mentioned that the US, they are using few missiles, 5 to 10 missiles to shoot down some mystery UFOs, or maybe balloons case, what is related with China. And the value of one missile, that is $439 US. So in one part of the world, so we are struggling to survive our economy, and the other part, so they are using $439 US per missile. So that's how you can identify the disparity between the world nations and countries. So at the same time, there are a lot of opportunities, especially for SME sector, small, medium, micro, small, medium scale enterprises they are having. In recent past, about few weeks back, if you all heard about another news item, it mentioning China exporting 224 billion face masks. The indication that so they are grabbing that export market with all these challenges. So that is a threat. The pandemic situation, Corona, the pandemic, it was a threat that started from China, Wuhan. But once again, they have converted it to a business model to bring back dollars to their country, to develop their export economy, to develop their export market. So it gives us a very good lesson how we can convert these challenges into opportunities. So that's what we expect from our students also. So if you can identify the issues related with the economy and convert it to an export market or export economy. So that is what we need. Even as a university, even as a country, so that is very, very vital to identify these opportunities and convert it to a business model. Because we know that the initiators or the entrepreneurs in the country, they are always going with this risk. So they are exposing to risk, and they are not going with the risk blindly. They are always using as a calculated risk. So in classroom, you are studying a lot of models or methods, how to quantify risk, how to identify and quantify risk. So even it related with the business, if you can use the knowledge what you gathered in the classroom in a correct manner to connect with your business model or the business idea, so then we can have very good team of people, those who can encourage and improve the export economy of our country. So the theme they have selected for this Student Research Symposium, it is very vital because of these matters. It is very, very essential to develop our economy rather than traditional economy. So we have to look outside. So what are the opportunities available for all of us as a country to develop this economy? So I wish all the very best to the students, those who are presenting today, so with their research ideas. And at the same time, I want to thank Dr. Chatura Liyanage, who is the organizer of this 11th Student Research Symposium, and as well as the head of the department, Professor Ruwan Abesekara, and all the staff members, those who dedicated to conduct this research forum. So thank you very much and wish you all the very best for today's sessions.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. There is a special person who is the strength behind research, new inventions, and concepts. He is none other than Senior Professor Kapila Seniviratne, Dean, Faculty of Graduate Studies, and the Chairman, Research Council, University of Kelaniya. Senior Professor Kapila Seniviratne graduated with a BSc Special Degree in Chemistry from the University of Kelaniya. He received his PhD in Chemistry from Wayne State University, Detroit, USA, and did his postdoctoral studies at the University of British Columbia, Canada. He was a Commonwealth Fellowship of the University of Leeds, UK in 2010, and a Fulbright Fellow in the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, USA in 2011. His key research interests include quality improvement of coconut oil, antioxidant properties of coconut oil and other edible oils, investigation of the potential of unconventional edible oils as sources of essential fatty acids, evaluation of diagnostic and prognostic molecular markers such as oxidative stress markers in endemic infectious diseases like dengue and scrub typhus, evaluating the effect of fatty acid chain length on fatty acid mediated absorption of small molecules, evaluating the in vitro and in vivo effect of antioxidants on oxidative stress-induced molecular damage to assess the potential as food preservatives. He has served as the Dean of the Faculty of Science from 2014 to 2017. Currently, he serves as the Dean, Faculty of Graduate Studies. He is also the Chairman of Research Council of the University of Kelaniya. This warm invitation is to Senior Professor Kapila Seniviratne to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, and I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, Professor Kapila.
Thank you very much, and Subhani, thank you for the kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head of the Department of Finance, and the coordinator of this 11th Student Research Symposium, Dr. Chatura Liyanage, and our keynote speaker today, Dr. Moraes, and all the academic staff members, and dear students. Thank you and my congratulations for the 11th Student Research Symposium. And I heard that this is the 11th consecutive research symposium, and it itself is a great achievement to have a research symposium 11 times. And that is great. And I want to mention that, dear students, right? One thing I quickly notice is that the distinguished academic staff members of your department, and we have Dr. Narada Fernando, present dean, and Professor Chitra Ranjani is one of the former deans, and Professor Susrima Valigamage, our council member, and there are lots of distinguished academics in the faculty in your department. So you all can be very proud of your department. And as you know, students in the university are one of the very important parts of our academic community. And teaching is our priority. We want to train our students, and we train them in a way that they are very useful to the development of our country. So when I look at your research symposium and the developments of this research culture in your faculty, one thing I notice is, early days, the bachelor's degrees were just 3-year degrees. But at that time, now it falls into Sri Lanka Qualification Framework 5. But 4-year degrees are Qualification Framework 6. So your degrees are all Sri Lanka SLQF 6 level degrees. And at a time when mainly 3-year degrees were offered, your faculty understood the importance of 4-year degrees and introduced these 4-year degrees, and that is due to very thoughtful arrangements or the thinking of future, the ability to think the future of our students. And now these degrees of 4-year are world recognized, and the recognition for 3-year degrees is less, though faculties like science, which I am representing, are still offering those degrees. Anyway, so you are very fortunate in that way too, to have a degree with qualification level 6. The other thing I want to mention is, and your degree has a research component, and you have done the research project and then presented to your academic staff members as, I believe, thesis defense. So let's say that is over. And then why do you need a research conference like this? What is the additional training you get by this research conference? And as you know, we never had an opportunity like this to present our findings to general public. There is a large crowd who is there listening to your talk and will ask certain questions, will challenge your findings, and you will have to defend them. And this training is very important, especially in a presentation. There can be people who are opposing your ideas. There can be people who are challenging your ideas. There can be people who are arguing with you. Then you get the training how to handle them and how to maintain your composure. And that is part of the training. And also, that this kind of academic presentations are different from public speaking in other forums. How? In academic presentations, your presentations are based on your findings or findings by others. And you talk about certain things based on the facts. And you do not use certain emotional words in the presentations like you do in public speeches. So then, to make an academic presentation, you need a kind of a special training. And that is the training you are going to get today. For example, in a recent presentation, I was there and one student was mentioning that in India, this is his own words, in India, there was a conference, and they mentioned about the anti-cancer or cancer prevention properties of a certain plant. And that is what he mentioned. And then I asked the question, what conference is that? What is the paper you are talking about, right? So why? If you are mentioning something new, you give the citation where it is mentioned. And what I'm trying to say here is that is how you make a presentation, make an academic presentation based on facts. So please understand this is different from other public speeches. So you have got an excellent opportunity to present your work in an academic environment, in an academic way, and to answer questions, handle arguments, defend your case. So this is a golden opportunity you have got. So I congratulate you and hope you make this day very fruitful and you all participate and listen to other speeches as well and enjoy the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking speech. The Students Research Symposium is an event that was initiated in 2012 by the Department of Finance. Now, we would like to have a glimpse of the past memories. We have now reached one of the most important items in today's agenda. The keynote speaker of the 11th Students Research Symposium is Dr. S.N. Moraes, Senior Lecturer, Social Studies, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, the Open University of Sri Lanka. Dr. Moraes is a development economist with wide international exposure. He completed his PhD at the Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand and the master's degree in economics at the University of Colombo. Currently, he serves at the Open University of Sri Lanka as a senior lecturer. Previously, he served as the head of the Department of Social Studies and then as the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. In addition, he served as a non-executive independent director of the HDFC Bank. He has extensive experience in teaching, research, academic administration, and national development frontiers, and remains actively involved in policy development work of the public sector, private sector, and the non-governmental organizations, both local and international. He is a multidisciplinary person and has excelled in many academic areas, which include international trade, macroeconomic management, SME development, livelihoods, and microfinance. He has also taken a keen interest in practical measures that can be taken in empowering people through microfinance programs and was instrumental in developing a major university program in collaboration with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in empowering banking officers in the regional level development banking sector. Among the other programs he has engineered, the microfinance research program together with the University of Lund in Sweden is noteworthy. He has also internationally represented issues relating to Sri Lankan youth development training in global conferences in the United Kingdom, South Africa, Uganda, and in other countries. He is a firm believer in holistic development of mankind with a proper balance between physical and material development and spiritual and cultural development. This humble invitation is to Dr. S.N. Moraes, Senior Lecturer, Social Studies, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, the Open University of Sri Lanka, to deliver the keynote. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Shubhani, for your kind words. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Right, thank you. The deans of the faculties, heads of departments, professors, members of the academia, the students, special invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everyone. And I'm delighted to be here in this speaking at this forum, scholarly forum, 11th Student Research Symposium of the Department of Finance. Thank you for inviting me. Really a timely topic. Everyone realized that for the past few years, what we have been going through, and in that context, what the MSME sector is going through, and not only from the recent incidents, if you look at it historically, I mean, our MSME sector has been facing a lot of challenges. So in this presentation, I will mostly look at it from a macroeconomic perspective, and also based on my academic background in trade and development. I will also speak about the external sector, the export economy, and its and how MSME sector is related to that. And also, you know, our Department of Social Studies is mostly focusing on policy studies. So I will also have certain reflections on the policy implications of this ventures. So once again, while thanking you all for inviting me for this session, let me kick off by sharing my slides. Hope I have the permission. Okay, yes.
we can see the slides.
You can see the slide, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. To begin with, let us look at some of the basic ideas around MSME sector, micro, small, and medium enterprises. I'm not giving any specific definition. I mean, we all know what these organizations are. Let's look at some of the significance of this sector. And we all know very well, MSME sector accounts for a large share of enterprise employment. You will see that in the latest slides, it's almost 90% of our enterprises are composed of MSME sector. Therefore, it is really, really a huge, and it is also considered as a key driver of economic growth because it involves a large number of, not only organization, large number of people. A huge segment of the populations are connected to this sector. Therefore, it is indeed in terms of demand as well as supply. It is a key driver of economic growth. And there is also an understanding that having MSMEs can lead to larger corporate sector. I think expansion of the economy can happen through MSME development. And as we have already mentioned, the implications of MSME sector in terms of key macro indicators, macro development indicators such as employment, the number of people employed in the sector is high, and of course the tax collection and social well-being, because a lot of these people involved in this sector are low-income people, and several other economic and non-economic benefits, such as in the areas of gender and peace building. And so MSME sector has been looked at from various economic as well as non-economic perspectives as a vital sector in any economy. And in terms of the global standards, it is also believed that MSMEs can contribute positively to achieving sustainable development goals, because it deals with a large number of population and their livelihoods. Therefore, I mean, its contribution to reducing poverty and income inequality is extremely considerable. Having said that, we will briefly look at the challenges faced by MSME sector. These are commonly known challenges, commonly faced challenges by any country, any particularly developing country context. MSMEs face a huge challenge in having access to finance. As a result, I mean, they are unable to engage in more capital-intensive production activities. And it is also realized that this sector is having very limited human resource capacities, particularly in terms of education and the workforce skills. Modernization of this sector depends largely on the capabilities, human resource capabilities of this sector, which is largely lacking, particularly in our country. And we also know that there are regulatory challenges, because large number of particularly micro enterprises and even small enterprises are still unregistered, and they do face registration challenges, meeting the standards, and various other legal requirements such as taxation, and a lot of lack of awareness and ability to overcome these regulatory related challenges prevent MSMEs from making progress towards larger corporations. And as everybody knows, there is also lack of information. You know very well the importance of information, organized data. Market access depends on how much information we have, how much updated we have. Therefore, weak market access remains a major problem faced by MSME sector. And also the gender disparities, gender-related issues. We know very well that of the people involved in MSME sector, particularly the micro enterprise sector, comprised largely of women who struggle to actually compete and also developing their network. There can be cultural biases in this sector which can have adverse impact on those women who are involved in this sector. Let us look at some of the important statistics, the macro level statistics concerning this sector. As reported, we have around 1 million MSMEs, which is actually a large percentage, which is 90% of the total enterprises. This according to the last census, 2013. And then another revealing fact here is that around 900,000, a significant portion of this MSME sector are characterized as micro businesses that employ less than 5 people, sometimes 1 person or maximum 2%, because they remain as family-owned businesses. And it is defined as organization having less than 15 million annual turnover, considered as micro enterprise sector, which reveals certain other findings, such as let's say this 900,000 micro businesses involved particularly people at the lower income strata, and you will see later, larger percentage of them are located outside the city. Therefore, from a development perspective, standard of living perspectives, income perspectives, and this involves really significant sector. There are some other statistics census department has started not very recently, starting from 2015 or 16 onwards. They're doing this annual survey of industries and also annual survey of trade and also services. And from that, they have found certain other indicators. There are 20,000 manufacturing enterprises are there, and also altogether, if you include the services as well as trade and services sector included, there are around 72,000 enterprises operating in this sector. This is very specific survey, not the census. Right, before looking at the export side of this sector, let us also go through some of the statistics concerning our labor force participation. It's important for us to have this background knowledge in making sense of how this can impact the other major development indicators. And we know very well in Sri Lanka, the labor force participation is only 50%. That is considered as economically active people. And in terms of numbers, it is around 8.1 million people. And they come from different sectors, agriculture, industry, and services, reflecting the structure of our economy. A higher percentage of people are employed in the services sector. And one of the other things I found very interesting here is that of these, employed, only 33% are from the formal sectors, that is, registered sector, and quite a very high percentage of people are employed in the informal sector, which has lots of other implications because they remain unregistered and they lack protection from law, and the employees do not have protection from the labor laws. They have no EPF. They're mostly unpaid family workers. They're very vulnerable in terms of income, and also workers without permanent employers. So this is a critical development problem because a large number of our micro enterprises remain vulnerable to failures and lacking legal protection because they are considered as the informal sector, right? On the other hand, if you also look at from a gender perspective, for a long time, only 30% of our female population are in employment. So female labor force participation is also very low. But on the other hand, you might also remember that a lot of people are, out of these 30%, most of them are employed in the informal sector and micro enterprise sector. So there is a gender dimension to this whole, landscape of MSME, because traditionally labor force participation, female labor force participation has been very low. It has been stagnant at 30%. And of that, most of them are employed in the informal sector and micro enterprise sector, which are actually very vulnerable. So there is a gender component in this. Right, moving on to understanding the employment patterns concerning MSME. And it is reported that nearly 2.2 million people are employed in this MSME sector. And of that, 1.3 million belongs to micro category, the smallest of all the enterprises. And here the contribution from various sectors is slightly different. All those services is contributing little comparatively higher, but the differences are not that significant among all three sectors. And as I mentioned previously, you would notice that nearly 81% of the SMEs or MSMEs are located outside the city, city limits. So what does that mean? It means that from a regional development perspective, a large number of low-income families are engaged in this sector, and anything that might happen to this sector will have serious implications on the income distribution and poverty situation of a large number of households, right? So suppose if there is a failure in this sector, it will have a huge impact, immense impact on poverty and vulnerability, which can lead to social unrest and also political instability. We see this happening right now. Now let us move on to the external sector, the export economy from a macro point of view. Let us look at some of the other statistics concerning external sector. You would see here that our total exports are in the range of, say, from 10 to 12 billion US dollar worth. It has been like that for quite a long time. And if you look at the total imports, this is actually the trade balances. We have around with the range of 18 to 20 billion US dollar. And we have something like nearly 8 billion trade deficit. Of course, we do not have accurate statistics about how much MSME export value of this total 12 billion export income, how much the MSME contribute, we still don't have. We might have, but I couldn't get those statistics. It's worth if we can get it. So what does it imply? Having this deficit for a long time has resulted in constant borrowing. We know very well how this led to a serious economic imbalances, that is macroeconomic imbalances, which has significantly contributed to the economic crisis, the current economic crisis, which is a debt problem, right? So it's good to have this contextual knowledge in understanding MSME. Right, let us move on with some other specific export-related information, particularly concerning the SME sector. If we look at various trade arrangements we have with international countries, these are some of the special trading arrangements. If you look at, we do have access to US market through this generalized system of preferences, which allows nearly more than 3,000 products to be exported from Sri Lanka, which is a GSP program, which is actually common to many South Asian countries. And it is reported that the utilization rate is near 40 to 45% in general. It's not specific to Sri Lanka, but in general, all these southern countries are making use of this at this range, say 40 to 45%. So that's the huge potential remaining to be exploited. Nevertheless, SL remains as one of the top exporters to the US. It is 14th in the list of top US top exporters into the US market. There is a lot to do. If you look at the European Union GSP, which is awarded to us for specific purposes such as improving good governance, human rights, and various other developmental outcomes. So there, of course, we have we can export nearly 7,000 products into the European market, and it is reported that we are making use of only around 58% of this facility. And scholars point out that we can do more in order to improve our export sector or export performance. And after this Asia-Pacific Trade Agreement has been there for a long time, since I think 70s. That also allows us to export nearly 4,270 products, plus some more products as exclusively awarded to LDC countries. So there is also a huge potential. And more active other agreements are Indo-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement and Pakistan-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement also allows us to export a lot of items, 4,000 or more than 4,000 items into those countries. So you can see the opportunities that are there for Sri Lankan export sector in penetrating into key markets in the world, US, European Union, of course, Asia Pacific region are significant market areas, and these facilities, it is alleged that less utilized by Sri Lanka, or we are not competitive enough to make use of all the facilities. But you look at the actual performance of export sector. What we export, I mean, as reported by, I found this statistic from the Export Development Board information, and it is reported that there are 4,000 exporters in Sri Lanka, and around 3,000 are SMEs. And you can see the importance of this sector. Nearly 75% of our exporters are small and medium-sized enterprises. So that is really significant. And also I found that the number of export products are just only 4,000. I mean, when you compare this with the number of products that are eligible to be exported into different markets, I mean, there's a huge potential. But actually, we are exporting around only 4,000 products. So we are yet to exploit the full product coverage through these trade agreements. And from another perspective, if you look at the total income to the GDP, only 17% is contributed by the export sector. So unlike many other countries like India and China, I mean, they earn a lot of income through export earnings. But in Sri Lanka, although we opened our economy earlier than these countries, we are still earning around less than 20% from exports as a contribution to GDP. And we have been constantly struggling with this trade deficit, which is nearly over $8 billion US, right? So what does it mean? I mean, we need to ask critical questions. Now, we have this vision of, say, position in Sri Lanka as a prominent export hub for innovative products and services. I mean, it's a very nice vision that we have. But when you look at our actual export performance, I mean, one can wonder whether we are actually doing justice to this vision, right? And on the other hand, I mean, a lot of people criticize the recent pandemic and financial crisis as a reason for the decline in the SME sector. Yes, of course, SME sector has been experiencing a significant decline during the pandemic and also afterwards because of the financial crisis. But if you look at our export performance and other macro statistics, you would see that it's not a new problem. The export sector, which consists of substantially SMEs, have been sluggish for a long time, for decades. So although the pandemic and financial crisis have given a new, new challenges to SME sector, but our SME sector has not been that competitive, not been performing to the levels what is expected. So it has been extremely sluggish. We have not been progressing much in this sector. So there is a criticism that, or a critical question that is constantly being asked, that was Sri Lanka able to assist SMEs to penetrate into new and existing markets on a sustained basis? So that's a main development problem or policy problem we have. Of course, EDB, Export Development Board, it claims to have offered a lot of assistance to SME sector, but still we would like to see the actual performance reflecting this support. So we'll now come to a key policy discussion. So let us ask some key questions. Is it due to lack of access to finance? Yes, that is certainly one of the key problems. Of course, like in many other countries, this is not a unique problem of Sri Lanka. It is across the board. Lack of access to finance is an endemic problem for SMEs, particularly because of their vulnerable nature and small size and the ability to have access to the formal capital market, because they remain extremely small and also weak in terms of their capacity. Nevertheless, if you look at the support system that has been there, the role of public financing, I mean, the government supported schemes. It is reported that there are nearly 18 public financing schemes or interest subsidy schemes available to this sector. And in 2009, they claim to have supported nearly 45,000 micro enterprises. But that is there as a statistic, but we don't know whether what role it played in terms of promoting these businesses, or whether it just provided some cushioning support, maybe just some sustenance, to make these organizations sustain where they are. So that question needs to be analyzed. And also there are a lot of refinancing schemes. Nearly 10 formal financial institutions are participating in this program, particularly supported by ADB and other development partners, with almost 100% utilization. But we don't know how this has resulted in actual increase in the performance of SME sector. And there are other facilities such as regional development banks, some of the cooperative department, they're all into a microfinance program to support micro enterprises, mostly in the informal sector. But we are still to see whether anything happening in the process of transformation towards formalization and standardization of informal sector into formal sector. That remains a key challenge for Sri Lanka, right? Secondly, we can look at, or we can ask this question, what is happening to the diversification? It's a long-standing issue. For a long time, the scholars have highlighted the need to diversify the export sector because we have been depending largely on a few sectors such as apparel, rubber, and they still dominate the export business. Of course, recently we have ventured into ICT and BPA sectors increasingly, but still the greater volumes of export come from apparel and rubber products. And if you look at other surrounding information regarding that, now EDB says that they're in the process of developing new export businesses, nearly 2,000 new export businesses, and they target nearly 37 billion US dollar trade in the near future. But we don't know how feasible these targets are, but it's good to have these targets towards diversification and, of course, enhancing the export revenue, which is still to take place. And yeah, as we have already stated, we are still in this traditional export basket, and as a result, we are unable to compete even within the intra-region. I mean, intra-regional trade is not impressive. I mean, it is set to be just 5% intra-region. I mean, within the South Asian region, we are within a region of the SAARC countries, which allows a lot of tariff concession for the movement of goods. But still, the intra-regional trade is very small. It is reported. One of the finding is that we have our export basket is just similar to other countries, and we have not really uniquely presented our export potential. And also, from a regional development perspective, we look at the distribution of the concentration of export businesses. They are mostly in the Western region, but at the same time, if you look at the earlier statistics, the greater percentage of micro and small businesses are located outside the city. So we don't know how these MSMEs located outside the Western region, they are participating in this global business. Of course, the North and East, which is another potential area, we still don't know how they are participating even after the war, whether there has been any significant expansion and entry into the export market from by SMEs in these regional areas. And also whether Sri Lanka is learning from international experiences of how other leading economies upgraded to high-value products. Countries like Taiwan or South Korea, I mean, basically they started their development initiatives with promotion of SME sector, and they have achieved a very high income status. And recently, of course, we can learn from experiences of the major Asian economic giants, India and China. Whether we are learning from them also, we do not know. And thirdly, I would point out export literacy as a major determinant of the export sector, the education, skills, and entrepreneurship. I mean, you would see when you go through the literature, I mean, many empirical studies, university level studies have indicated lack of education and skills as a major constraining factor facing this export sector. So whether we have been able to actually improve the workforce skills, improve education and entrepreneurship other than our usual programs through various technical agencies, we have not been able to actually put in place a modern skill-based an education sector which can actually facilitate the SME sector. So export literacy is very low. Even SMEs traditionally lacking literacy in normal business skills. I mean, they need additional skills in order to make sense of how international business takes place. There is a lot of facilitation is needed to support these agencies in this transformation, say from local businesses to internationalization. So that is also a key challenge Sri Lanka is grappling with. So a lot to do in this area. And there are questions like whether we need to introduce new macro level institutions in addition to what we have, such as the Department of Industries, Department of Commerce, then we have Industrial Development Board, EDB. So these are some of the institutions that are relevant to promoting SME sector, but we don't know, like in many other countries. I mean, some countries have introduced entrepreneurship laws, right? Many countries, and a special legislature, a comprehensive legislature that covers the whole range of issues like microfinance, then skills education, entrepreneurship education, innovation, covering a range of ideas. We don't have a good legislature and good institution to actually look at SME in a more holistic sense. And specific to international agreements, we have already discussed this to some extent, utilization of trade agreements. I mean, there has been a criticism against the export sector that they are not actually making use of these trade facilities. And we have not made any advancement in new negotiations, such as with whatever proposed with India, that is deepening the economic cooperation, which will include also technology and services. And then there are other agreements that are being negotiated with China and Thailand, which has not made much progress. So we see a lot of lack of progress in negotiating trade agreement, which are very important in terms of promotion of exports and having access to foreign markets. So if you are unable to, of course, there is a lot of local pressure when you go for economic cooperation with other countries, particularly services. But we need to prepare the population. We need to get a political mandate to initiate new trade agreements and also creating new institutions. And also making use of some instruments available to us through international agencies. It could be the World Trade Organization, of course, International Trade Center, and of course the other financial institutions such as ADB. They all offer a lot of technical support to developing countries. So whether we are making use of these facilities is still questionable, right? Right. And from a broader perspective, I mean, I would say the approaches that Sri Lanka has adopted for a long time are not really people-centered. What do you mean by people-centered? I mean, this is about investing on people first, right? In order for the business sector to grow, actually, you have to invest on people in terms of education, skills, and business literacy. All these are part of this people-centered approach. It's not just about poverty reduction and vulnerability reduction or transfer program, but people-centered approach when it comes to trade and internationalization. It's about investing on people with a lot of skills needed by this sector. So we have not been able to actually put in place a good education system, a skill development system that could propel SME sector towards a transformation and to the next level. If you look at countries like Taiwan and South Korea, if you read their development history, you would see that one of the priority areas, even Singapore, during the early developmental decades, the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, is actually investment in higher education. I mean, they have the very high percentage, I mean, in terms of GDP, investment in higher education. And South Korea is actually nearly 70% of them are said to have acquired higher education, tertiary education. India is very high, even going up to 30-35%, and Singapore 40-45%. Where a country like ours, which is boasting about the highly educated country, our tertiary sector, the higher education percentage is very low, I think less than 15%. So that is, these are contradictions that we have in terms of people-centered approach. We have not adequately invested on people to prepare a larger population to take up production activities, marketing activities, and risk-taking behavior, and so on, right? Now we are coming to the end of our discussion. But look at this quotation by Michael Porter. I mean, all of you are aware of this, which says, national prosperity is created, not inherited, which is a significant, perspective, which is given by Michael Porter. And it's not inherited from natural endowments or labor or currency value. A nation's competitiveness depends on the capacity of its industry to innovate and upgrade. So he summarized everything here through this innovation and constant upgrading of the industries. So we know, I mean, we can boast about our past. We had a glorious, civilizations and technologies, but if you don't innovate and upgrade, I mean, we don't have prospects of actually growing and moving forward. So this is a very useful quotation, right? We all should, we should be inspired by this. The policymakers should be inspired by this enlightened perspective, right? Right. Now, certain concluding remarks. So to summarize, all what I have to say is that MSME is a vital sector which has tremendous impact on many national development goals, whether it could be income growth, inclusive development, livelihood, poverty, of course, macroeconomic stability, international trade, gender inequality. So MSME sector development will have its impact on larger developmental goals, including sustainable development goals. So therefore, we need to, there's no question that we need to revitalize this sector, which is actually stagnating and of course going backwards in other sense. So what can we do within short term, because we have been affected by pandemic and economic crisis, and there is a decline of this sector. So there needs to be a solid policy framework to arrest this declining trend, because it is creating a lot of social and political unrest, and it is already happening. And before it boils further, we need to put in place a recovery framework. Recovery and resilience is very important. Of course, we have had some ad hoc measures, such as introducing some moratorium schemes and interest concessions, things like that, but it has not worked to actually recover and to provide to acquire resilience of the sector. So we need to one of the possible strategies to refinance, to introduce refinancing schemes. We should negotiate for refinancing schemes with major development partners, and that will have a positive impact on actually resilience and also to some extent recovery of this sector. And from a medium and long-term perspective, of course, in line with Michael Porter's argument, and also in line with other analyses, in line with the experiences of other countries, the focuses of other countries. Many of these countries are focused on innovation, particularly China and India. They're constantly innovating in order to remain competitive in the world markets. Therefore, what we have done in terms of innovation, when I read some literature, I found the approaches Of course, we do have references to innovation. Our national innovation system consists of, different organizations that are, supporting like research and development, National Science Foundation, and largely it is public sector financing, and we do not have much private sector financing in terms of research and development. Of course, individual, say, large business organization might invest in research and development, but to address SME issues, we need to have significant investment in R&D and innovation. It's not just only introducing new technologies. It's also about adapting existing technologies. There also we are lacking, particularly in the ICT sector. We have a lot to learn from the innovations of other countries, innovations that are being, that is happening at a very rapid scale in the world. So we need a coherent policy to not only increase investment in R&D, but also in adapting technologies, promoting adoption of technologies, and of course, upgrade workforce skills. These are medium to long-term strategic areas where we need strong policies. So people might think that you can just do it through certain strategies and ministries, some allocating some money. No, what we need at a macro perspective, we need to put in place a solid, comprehensive policy framework so that funding can be acquired for these policy areas. So that is my proposal, and I have also some suggestion to the students who might be undertaking further research or future research in this area. You can look at the major issue of formalizing micro enterprises. The transformation of from informality to formality. That is certainly an area that needs a lot of research. India is doing a lot of research. They have national level studies, surveys conducted in order to understand the informal sector and the challenges faced by them. And they also have programs to formalize these sectors. It is happening, maybe at a slow pace, but it's still happening. But we don't know whether we have it as a national goal. And then, of course, you can also look into the regulatory and institutional challenges of MSMEs, which is actually scattered. We have to get permission from different agencies. There are different standards. So it's not at all helping for the new entrants into this sector, particularly export sector. We do have this certain facilitation by EDB and also Board of Investment, but still organizations are struggling to actually complete or comply with the regulatory standards. Then, of course, a huge need for studies in workforce skills, education and skills initiatives, how that is happening, whether we can have major initiatives in Sri Lanka to actually upgrade skills, and of course, trade promotion through economic integration. That is, those who are studying international business might undertake research in this area of economic integration, the potentials and challenges. With that, I would like to conclude. Hope I have remained within the time allocated to me. So thank you very much for inviting me in this scholarly forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable insights. I'm certain it was very useful for our students. And also, sir, can you please give us back the screen sharing option?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. The research journey of our undergraduates starts in the third year, second semester. Under the research methodology module, the third year undergraduates have to submit their research proposal. Out of the 60 posters submitted, best 4 have been selected for the poster presentation today at the 11th Students Research Symposium. So without further ado, let's move on to our first presentation. The title of the first poster presentation is Contribution of Microfinance to Enhance the Women Entrepreneurship Badula District. The authors are P.H.N. Tanushika, H.D.M.H.S. Hapuarachi, and B.O. Madhuhansi.
Good day to all of you. I'm Nishadi, and we are very much pleasure to present our research proposal in front of you. So our research topic is contribution of microfinance to enhance the women entrepreneurship in Padula district. Why we select women entrepreneurship? Actually, it is a new trend, and also we have found many valuable articles regarding this topic. The main thing is that we all three have huge passion and curiosity about this topic. So that's why we select this topic by discussing each other. As a result of our research, we have found that the rate of engaging in businesses by women is low when comparing the men in Badula district. The lack of income is the main reason for this situation. According to the literature review as a research gap, we have identified there is a lack of knowledge regarding the effect of microfinancial intervention to the empowerment of women entrepreneurs in Padula district. So now, Oshadi, you can continue.
Thank you, Nishadi. Here we will see what are the research objectives in our proposal. One of the major concerns of government and development organizations across the world have been empowerment movement. There are not enough studies conducted in Sri Lanka. When we are doing a literature review about that topic related in Sri Lanka, Badula is the most an important district because women are engaged in business in lower rate, but microfinances provide many opportunities. Hence, main objective of our research is to evaluating the effect of microfinance programs on women entrepreneurs' performance in Badula district. And also, we identify sub-objectives in our research proposal. They are, first one is to analyze the relationship between microfinance and women entrepreneurship. Second one is to determine the reasons why small loan borrowers performed poorly during inception of the firms. Finally, to suggest some possible solution for improving women entrepreneurs in Badula district. Next, we move to what are the research problem in our proposal. There were a number of questions that we made while searching information for this research. Let's talk about some of most important issues. First one is how evaluating the effect of microfinance programs on women entrepreneurs' performance in Badula district. Second one is what is the relationship microfinance and women entrepreneurship. Third one is why small loan borrowers are performed poorly during inception of a firm. Finally, what are the challenges in empowerment of the woman? Let us next focus on how the methodology have been identified for our research. Hironi, over to you. Thank you.
Now I'd like to talk about the research methodology. When talking about the research design, social constructivism is a suitable philosophy for this research. This research was basically under the inductive approach. Then the population. We can consider all the small and medium scale women entrepreneurs who engage with microfinance in the Badula district as the population. When talking about the sample size, we can select 100 entrepreneurs by stratify the sample to the business categories. After that, we can take sample items from the population randomly and proportionally. As for the data collection method, we can use primary data collection method through structured questions. As you can see in the screen, we created the conceptual framework with these variables and how they affect to growth of women entrepreneurship. Now, Nishadi, you can continue.
Then we have identified as main expected outcome is relationship between microfinance engagement and women entrepreneurship. Expect to provide enough evidence to the significant association between both variables. So then we have identified limitations, name, scope of discussion, sample size, data collection method, lack of time, implementation of data collection method. So this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate to giving this great opportunity to us.
Thank you, authors, for your presentation. The title of the next poster presentation is The Impact of Information Technology on the Quality of Integrated Reporting in Sri Lanka. The authors are P.S. Samayadasa, M.R.F. Nifla, and Y.S. Asha Sonali.
Have you ever wondered how information technology is revolutionizing integrated reporting? Our research examines the impact of information technology on the quality of integrated reporting in public listed firms in Sri Lanka. An integrated report is a concise explanation of how an organization's strategy, governance, performance leads to value creation over time. Information technology is used to describe computer hardware and software that support management and strategizing in businesses. When discussing about the practice gap, Sri Lanka is beginning to have a rapid development in information technology which will contribute in enhancing the standard of integrated reporting. Business organizations use IT at different phases of integrated reporting. When discussing about the empirical gap, although Sri Lankan firms are keen on adopting IT, extensive research have not been conducted on how integrated reporting preparers utilize information technology to reduce any risk related to integrated reporting disclosure. Key researchers such as Charles de Villiers in the previous research have only examined how integrated reporting supports value creation and value relevance, challenges faced by integrated reporting preparers, and relationship between integrated thinking and integrated reporting. The diffusion of innovations theory is used as the theoretical underpinning which outlines how new technological advancements spread throughout societies. There is a dearth of studies done on how the quality of integrated reporting is affected by the development of IT in Sri Lanka using qualitative approach. The research questions are: what is the impact to integrated reporting quality by adopting IT? How IT assists to make future-oriented integrated reporting predictions? How is comparability, consistency, completeness, and connectivity of integrated reporting impacted by IT? What is the relationship between the risk of integrated reporting disclosure and the adoption of IT? The research objectives are to identify the impact to integrated reporting quality by adopting IT, to examine how IT assists to make future-oriented integrated reporting predictions, to examine how the comparability, consistency, completeness, and connectivity of integrated reporting is impacted by IT, and to identify the relationship between the risk of integrated reporting disclosure and IT.
So now let's look at the research methodology we are planning to adopt in our research. The research philosophy is the social constructivism, while the research logic aimed to be used is inductive, by planning to have observations and then coming to conclusion. The research approach is the quantitative method, where we're going to collect quantitative information regarding the extent of integrated reporting practices and the adaptation of information technology by each entities. The population of our study is the total number of listed entities in Colombo Stock Exchange, and we are planning to have a stratified sampling by selecting a sample of 10 companies listed in Colombo Stock Exchange and which operates in different industries such as manufacturing, agriculture, etc., in order to represent the whole population. Primary data collection method of conducting interviews, with the management regarding the extent of integrated reporting practices and the adaptation of information technology will be collected, and it will be analyzed and evaluated using the Vivo software by organizing, interpreting, and the data collected. We also constructed the conceptual framework and identified the variable of interest. For the dependent variable is the quality of integrated reporting based on its characteristics and the quality of its disclosures. Our independent variable is the adaptation of information technology by the entity, and the control variables are the company size and the stage of growth, which will have a significant role to avoid biases.
What are the significance of our study? Integrated reporting improves how businesses prepare, think through, and tell their narrative. Many companies utilize integrated reporting as an opportunity to provide a simple, cohesive story that demonstrates how value is produced within their organizations. The difficulty of handling information is constantly growing. Currently, businesses must publish regulated financial information as well as required environmental, social, and governance disclosures. The topic of integrated reporting and information technology is extremely important in the business world of today. Do you know that how it contributes to the practice? Our focus shifted to the creation of an integrated report from the financial annual report. By attracting the attention of other students, academics, and practitioners to explore and advance this field, we hope to contribute to the current status of integrated reporting research and development through our research. Let me explain what are the limitations of our study. This study only discusses how information technology assessment are used to forecast the future of integrated reporting. The primary drawback is that we are only conducting a study on Sri Lanka out of all the nations in the world. This research describes the integrated reporting standard in Sri Lanka and the degree of efficiency attained as a result of the application of technology. This is the primary drawback of our research. Even though there are 290 listed companies on the Colombo Stock Exchange, we only chose 10 companies from different industries to represent our sample. This has the effect of showing how many sectors such as banking, insurance have embraced technology to improve the caliber of their integrated reporting quality from among the CSE listed firms in Sri Lanka. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, authors, for your presentation. The title of the next poster presentation is The Factors Which Affect the Investors' Sentiment in Green Bond Market in Sri Lanka. The authors are K.K.C. Sandipani, K.B.D. Madhushalya, and K.A.U.H. Kurukula Surya.
Hello everyone, welcome to our research proposal on the topic of factors which affect the investors' sentiment in Green Bond Market Sri Lanka. Green Bond is a new financial project issued to directly benefit environmentally sustainable projects. Clean energy financing is decisive to achieve sustainable development goals in the global economy, but it still represents a small part of the financial market. According to the World Bank report, green bonds have attracted investors' attention over the past few years as key instruments for financing the transition to a low-carbon economy while improving financing market efficiency and productivity. Green bond market has expanded at a compound annual growth rate of more than 15% in the world. As a result of the global situation at the past COVID-19, Sri Lanka also faced many economic challenges. The government of Sri Lanka discussed that issuing green bonds as financial tool for sustainable recovery. They also highlighted the fact that investors, corporate and green bond issuers will navigate to transition to a low-carbon, climate resilient and resource-efficient economy as the answer for the economic crisis. When we refer in scholarly articles and journals on green finance and green bonds, sustainability goals and green financing, investor influence on green bonds, COVID-19 impacts to the green bonds and investor sentiment, we were able to identify that researchers have studied the influence of investor sentiment on green bond market in the world. But no any studies has been done for the green bond market in Sri Lanka. From that, we identify that empirical gap from this finance research area. We also identified as the practice gap that the government of Sri Lanka gave permission to issue green bonds from 2021, and all the relevant laws and regulations, including mainly taxonomy on green bonds, have stated from 2021 as green finance taxonomy, in line with the international best practices. Evidence from CBSL report 2021. In this background, there was a requirement of the study the lack of knowledge of Sri Lankan investors about investing in green bonds and whether they are aware of it and how their attitudes towards green bonds in Sri Lanka.
Next, I hope introduce the main issue, questions and objective. Our research main issue is determine how the influence of investors' sentiment on green bond market in Sri Lanka, and we identify some investors as research questions that aim to study, learn, test and explore. What are the factors which affect the investors' sentiment in green bond market in Sri Lanka? How the government of Sri Lanka promotes the investments on green bond in Sri Lanka? Why should investors invest in green bond market and its importance to the investor and for the economy and whole? We indicated 3 research objectives as actions intended to answer the research questions. Our main objective is to achieve sustainable economic goals of Sri Lanka by providing investors with an understanding of the green bond market and increasing the attractiveness of investors to the green bond market by giving them sound knowledge about the value and benefits of green bond investments. Issuer, investors and policymakers will get the benefits of the research we have done.
Research methodology reflects the overall solutions of the issue of understanding of the green bond market. The research basically designed for identifying the impact of investor sentiment and new implementations of the government on green bonds. The research mainly continued as an explanatory research using both qualitative and quantitative data, and also will be continued in introductive method. According to the nature of research, it is based on both positivism and interpretivism. Under the target population, research will base sample of 10 investors in CSE Sri Lanka who are investing in green bonds and not yet invested in green bonds with the recommendations and permissions of CSE. And also limited number of investors are investing in green bonds. According to the scenario, judgmental sampling technique will use to select sample data as our primary studies. As primary data, we use semi-structured questionnaires, interviews and observations. As secondary data, we use CSE data bank, government publications, historical documents, articles and journals. Data analytical techniques. Based on gathered qualitative and quantitative data, this research will basically driven in the descriptive analysis and correlations by using the SPSS software and STARTA software. Qualitative data will analysis using content analysis and thematic
framework. This study identifies the relationship between the investor sentiment on green bond market and the share price index returns based on the daily sentiment, the daily returns of the price indexes. We developed this conceptual framework and hypothesis by referring past literatures. Based on the assumed impact of independent variables, green bond returns, volatility, availability of information on green bond market and green bond principles on our dependent variable, investor sentiment. Through the developed hypothesis, we hope to test in the significance of the relationship between these 4 independent variables on this dependent variable.
The main expected result of this study is how investors' sentiment toward green bond market. Factors can be seen as high, medium or low result. We hope to increase investors' awareness of the green bond market and positively boost the demand for green bond as the new financial instrument for Sri Lankan financial system. Overall, our research is included in this poster, but we have identified the limitations that cannot go through this research. There are a large number of indexes to research in the world, but we based only CSE All Share Price Index and S&P LSL 20 Index. There are a large number of registered investors in Sri Lanka, but we estimated sample of 10 investors. Green bond market will be introduced to Sri Lanka in the year 2021. Therefore, so many investors are not aware of the green bond.
Chatrika Sandipani, Dilmi Madhushalya, Udara Kurukula Surya, we are the three contributors of this research proposal and hope to continue this research successfully. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome.
Thank you, authors, for your presentation. The title of the final poster for today is, Should Political Stability Be a Mainspring in the Stock Price Prediction Models? The authors are H.P.W.P. Jayasankar, G.V.M.V. Pereira, and G.H.R. Bashita.
Stock market is a snapshot of the future growth expectation of a company as well as the economy of a country. Many factors have attributed to stock price fluctuations, which mainly includes company fundamental factors. But it is not limited to those and include the macroeconomic factors, market anticipations, confidence in the company management, operations, and etc. Stock prices models are mainly based on company fundamentals. In the ideal situation, predicted prices based on the fundamentals should be equal to the future market prices. In current Sri Lankan situation, even though some companies perform well in fundamentals, stock prices tend to decrease. A practice gap could be identified in stock market price prediction models in addressing this issue. According to the research done by Professor Vasanthi Madhurapurma in year 2022, it implies that macroeconomic variables and political stability as key factors other than company fundamentals affect the stock prices. The impact of macroeconomic variables are addressed by the above research and provide future research suggestions to analyze the political stability as an empirical research gap. Therefore, these studies aim to find the relationship between stock price prediction and political stability in Sri Lanka, Japan, and Myanmar to have a better comparative insight and to suggest whether political stability should be a mainstay in stock price prediction models. So when it comes to significance of the study, this research will generate new knowledge by addressing the relationship between stock prices and political stability. This will address our main research problem, whether the political stability should be mainstay in stock price prediction model as a practice gap. In depth, this study will generate knowledge about stock price and the events like strikes, assassinations, riots, demonstration, government changes, and government longevity. This research significance is mainly for investors and portfolio managers that take decisions on price predictions to make investment choices. Similarly, companies which issues IPOs and secondary offerings will have better overview of timing of securities issues with regarding the political aspect by explaining the volatility in the market. So another significance of this study is by taking stock market as a proxy to country's economic performance, we can develop insights regarding the effects on events like strikes, assassination, riots, demonstration, government changes, and government longevity impact to the country's economic performance, which is reflected by the GDP. Also, findings will help policymakers and regulatory authorities in both aspects of enhancing share markets and economic performances.
Here's our research methodology. The methodology of research is the process of conducting research or work plan of the research. To address our research question, we have designed our research using quantitative method with the beliefs of one external objective reality in the world under the positivism philosophy. And deductive research logic is used to test the theory. When it comes to the population and sample, this study is mainly focused to the Asian region. That is our population. As a sample, we have selected 3 countries based on the annual GDP. That is Sri Lanka, Japan, and Myanmar. And collected annual time series data of stock market performance and political stability over the period from 1990 to 2022. As our data type, we use secondary data for the measurements of both the variables. Share market performance are measured by using ASPI index in Sri Lanka, Topix index in Japan, and main PIX index in Myanmar. Political stability is measured by using political stability index. This index is constructed based on aging values by including components which showed aging values more than 1, such as general strikes, demonstration, riots, assassination, government longevity, government changes, and regime type. The conceptual framework constructed by considering the stock market performance as dependent variable and political stability as independent variable. Also, we use company fundamentals and macroeconomic factors as control variable for our research. This research is focused on to find whether the factor political stability has the explanatory power to describe the share price or not. Based on that, we have made our hypothesis to test the significance of such variable. Descriptive statistics used to analyze the data to identify characteristics and behavior of the data. The collected data are analyzed through SPSS software and interpreted comparatively between 3 countries. And the time series regression is our major analysis techniques in this research, because the objective of data analysis is to find the significance of relationship between political stability and stock market performance. Finally, the t-test would be used to check the significance of political stability coefficient in the time series regression model to identify whether there is a significant relationship or not.
The scope was limited to stock performance and political stability of three countries, which are Japan, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. Since Sri Lanka and Myanmar fail under emerging economics as they have developing stock markets and higher political instability, Japan was chosen as a country with a developed stock market and higher political stability to provide comparative insight to our study. There are many other factors that affect stock market performances, but in this study we have controlled those factors and they were kept as constant. However, keeping significant variables constant can affect the explanatory power of the model, and error term can be correlated with dependent variables, which is a limitation of this study. This study aims to determine whether political stability has an impact on stock price prediction and whether it should be incorporated into stock price prediction models. As this study does not address the method of incorporating political stability into stock price prediction models, we believe that there is room for expansion in the above mentioned area. In conclusion, we expect a positive relationship between political stability and stock performances. So relying on our expected outcome, including political stability as a consideration, will improve the accuracy of price prediction models. Therefore, this study hopes to offer crucial knowledge to other studies that will help them create stock price prediction models based on political stability and also include political stability into their existing model for betterment.
Thank you, authors. Congratulations to all the presenters. You will receive certificates for your achievement at this symposium, and you may collect the certificates from the Department of Finance once the academic semester starts. An event of this caliber cannot happen overnight. The preparation started months ago, and there are many individuals that we have to be thankful for. Dr. Chatura Liyanage, Senior Lecturer and Dissertation Coordinator of the Department of Finance, was a great leader to all of us. It would have not been possible for us to put together this tremendous event without his continuous support and guidance. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Chatura Liyanage, Senior Lecturer and Dissertation Coordinator of the academic year 2020-2021 of the Department of Finance to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Right. Thank you, Subhani. So very good morning to all of you. So our chief guest today, Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. Our guest of honor, Senior Professor Kapila Seneviratne, Dean, Faculty of Graduate Studies. And the keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Marias from the Open University of Sri Lanka, and Professor Ruwan Abesekara, head of the Department of Finance, Senior Professor Ranjini, Professor Susima, and all the academic supervisors and my dear students. So as the dissertation coordinator for the academic year 2020-21, I would like to take this opportunity to give my gratitude to all of you who joined for today's session and make this event a colorful event. So first of all, I would be thankful for Dr. Narada Fernando, the Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, to accepting our invitation with his busy schedules and helping us to take this event successfully. And also I would like to thank Professor Kapila Seneviratne, who joined as the guest of honor to make this event colorful. Dr. Marias, our keynote speaker of the event, will be really thankful for your for joining to this session with all your busy schedules, sir, and also giving us some picture, a macro picture of today's economy and giving some new research areas for the development on our future research. And so thank you very much for you again. And also I would give my gratitude to the two resource persons who are going to contribute now in order to educate you on how to convert your dissertation into a publication. That is Dr. Roni Fernando and Dr. Surangi for your contribution. As you all know, we started this journey almost 1 year ago, and we faced many challenges. During this year, we had long power cuts, shortage of fuel, gas and other essential items, and also food shortages, political turmoil, and even hyperinflation, devaluation of rupee, and so on and so forth. But with all these issues, we were still was able to complete this on time, and I'm very happy about this. So therefore, I would take this opportunity to thank all the academic supervisors who really contribute and helped us to achieve these deadlines irrespective of all the challenges we had. And as a department, we have limited lecturers, so each lecturer was supervised around 10 students, so it was not an easy task. We had proposal presentations, pre-viva sessions, final viva sessions, and with all the obstacles we were able to complete them. And I can remember some of these online viva sessions went past 12 midnight. And to my dear students, I need to say that this is with all the commitment of you and your academic supervisors, because they devote their family time to complete these tasks and get you the advice to complete this dissertation on time. And also I need to highlight, during this academic year we add few features to this current dissertation process. We did some modification to the dissertation guide, and we standardized the process by creating a new marking scheme, an evaluation process, and also standardized the current format, and conducting training sessions on analyzing the data. And those are some of them. And so in this process, I must be very thankful to Professor Ruwan Abesekara and also Professor Susima Veligamge, who really guide me throughout this process and giving a lot of suggestions and thoughts, and to make it more effective. And also they were kind enough to conduct some sessions to educate us and the students on how to do this research successfully. And also I need to thank Dr. Roni Fernando and Mr. Asita, and also Mr. Jayanath, Dr. Priyantha Morapitia, who conduct free workshops for us to educate the students on data analytics, and then formatting and also writing the research during this year. I would fail my task if I did not thank Ms. Jayani Chatrika, who was assisting me throughout this year with all her busy schedules and commitments. So I would take this opportunity to say that I'm really grateful to you as a colleague for helping me and being with me to make this event a colorful event. And also I must thank to Ms. Subhani, Ms. Ketmi, Ms. Shalini, Ms. Pramudini, and Ms. Anisha for all their dedication to conduct the Viva session smoothly in the last couple of weeks. And also I need to give special thanks to Dhammika and the non-academic staff who helped me to arrange the logistics to conduct this event. And also I would give special thanks to Ms. Subhani for comparing the today's session, and also would thankful for Mr. Jayana to conduct and helping the technical assistant on today's event. Also I would really thank one of our own undergraduate of our department, Supun Sachinta, who developed a creative video to this event. Finally, I would be thankful for all the students who conclude your dissertation during this period, and now you are in the last stage of your evaluation. So in another 2 weeks time, you will be submitting your final hard copies and also your research paper. So I think you have done a great achievement, because without your support and without your commitment, we will not be able to achieve this task. So I would really encourage you, all of you, to convert this dissertation to a publication, so that it will help to your life, and also it will give the gratitude to your supervisor as well. And we will select the best researchers out of these 180 plus students, and we will award them at the next annual finance award ceremony. So with that, I would like to conclude today's thanking note, and wish you all the best for your future studies, and would really encourage to participate for our workshop on converting your dissertation into a research paper, and I would really see all of you do these publications in the near future. Thank you very much. Over to you, Subhani.
Thank you, sir. The Department of Finance is always encouraging and trying to enhance the research culture among the undergraduates. Next in our agenda is the workshop on the topic, how to convert your dissertation into a research paper, which our students are eagerly waiting for. This workshop will be particularly important for our undergraduates who have just completed their dissertation and looking forward in doing publications. So we encourage all of you to follow the guidelines that will be provided for you today and to convert your dissertation into a research paper. This workshop consists of 2 sessions that will be conducted by 2 resource persons, Dr. Ruani Fernando, Senior Lecturer, Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya, and Dr. H.K.N.S. Surangi, Senior Lecturer, Department of Commerce and Financial Management, University of Kelaniya. Now let's move on to the first session of the workshop, which will be conducted by Dr. Ruani Fernando, Senior Lecturer, Department of Finance. Dr. Ruani Fernando graduated with Bachelor of Business Management Special Degree in Finance from the University of Kelaniya and obtained the MSc in Management from University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. She obtained her PhD from University of Waikato, New Zealand. She was the Faculty Gold Medalist for the achievement of the highest GPA in the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies in the year 2008. She was also a recipient of the New Zealand Commonwealth Scholarship to pursue her PhD. Her PhD thesis has been awarded as one of the best among the 3 theses of the year 2020, recognized by the Institute of Finance Professionals in New Zealand. She has also received the Vice-Chancellor's Award for the researcher with the highest number of publications in index journals of the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies in 2019, and the 3rd place in the category of Most Outstanding Young Researcher in the same year. Further, she received the Most Outstanding Young Researcher of the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies in 2022. She has been awarded for the best paper titled, Does the Risk Management Affects Bank Efficiency and Analysis of Sri Lankan Banking Sector? She has several publications in index journals. Currently, she serves as a senior lecturer at the Department of Finance of the University of Kelaniya, coordinator of MBA program of University of Kelaniya, and the editor-in-chief of the South Asian Journal of Finance published by the Department of Finance. My warm invitation is to Dr. Ruani Fernando, Senior Lecturer, Department of Finance, to conduct the first session of the workshop. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Subhani. Hope I can share the screen. I'm audible, Subhani?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. Right. So good morning once again, students. Okay. So first of all, let me congratulate for your great achievement by completing this dissertation course unit, at the same time completing the degree, because you have already completed all the examinations of the degree program. So they are in the process. So congratulations. And also I would like to appreciate Dr. Chatura as the dissertation coordinator of this year of your batch, because this is, I think, a good initiative that he has introduced to the department. Previously, like we had the process like the students need to prepare abstract and kind of extended abstract, but this time, so he has and make compulsory, I guess, for the students to submit a research paper with the final thesis. So that's a very good initiative. So we know the the pain that you had during this process, and we can imagine how much effort you have put into this, the course unit, because this is not limited to one particular semester. You started this process maybe at the third year. If you use the same topic which we produced for a research proposal, so then I think it's nearly 1 year, I guess. So therefore, you have put a lot of time on this, and it's also your supervisor. Also, we should appreciate their commitment in this process. So they have given the comments, and you had several viva and progress presentations. From each and every progress presentation, you had some value to your dissertation, and then finally, so you have produced your final thesis. So then in this workshop, so what I'm planning to do, so then what could be the next step, right? So are we going to close the chapters, I mean the hard copy, and keep it at your shelves or at the library, or are we going to do something else to add some value to your works, what you have done? Okay, so a research is mainly from a research, what we expect is to disseminate new knowledge, right? So therefore, throughout this dissertation process, so you have identified the research gap, and then you have developed your research objectives, and then you have developed a unique methodology for that, and then finally you have unique results for your study. And therefore, are we going to close the chapters and keep it in a shelf, or are we going to disseminate the knowledge what you have gained? So therefore, you have to go for this step, as Dr. Chatura requested from you all to prepare a journal article from your thesis. So that should be the next step, actually, right? So there's no particular time like to see like when we should need to convert your thesis or dissertation into a journal article. The best time is the next day once you complete your thesis, right? So I hope like I can provide you some guidance on converting thesis to a journal article. So if I just summarize, like brief you, what is the difference between a thesis and a journal article? Probably you can provide me good answers on that. So mainly thesis is to meet your academic requirements. So this is your undergraduate degree program. So you had a course unit there, and that is compulsory. So therefore, no choices. So you have to complete it. And you have completed that, you did it, right? But journal article, it's not academic requirement, but it is, we meet the journalistic standards because we are going to adhere to the requirements which are specified or expected by a particular journal which you are planning to submit your article. And your thesis is mainly reviewed by selected people because it will be mainly limited to the author, that is you, and then your supervisor. And there may be few examiners who involve in this, examination process. So then your thesis will be limited to those selected people, right? But as I said you at the beginning, a purpose of a research is not to, produce the research, the final thesis, but to, disseminate your new knowledge, right? So therefore, it is very much essential for you to, bring your thesis into a journal article or convert your thesis into a journal article where we can find a wide audience for your paper, for your study, right? So once you, produce the journal article, it is available either on printed mode or online mode. So then that can be accessed by a wide audience, right? So the new knowledge, what you have gained, what you have found from your research, that should be distributed, right? Otherwise, it's just a wasting your time and also your supervisor's time, right? So it is a, ultimate output of a long journey where you started in the third year. So therefore, you have to convert this into a journal article and then make it available to everyone who is interested in your area, right? So in our thesis, as you know, right, so there are 5 chapters mainly. It depends on the author, right? So commonly we can say there are 5 chapters, but when it's come to a journal article, so we have sections. But the headings might be different, like similar. For example, we have in the thesis, we have the first chapter, introduction. So in a journal article also, you have the introduction section, we call it sections, right? And then in your thesis, you have the literature review. And again, in the journal article, you have the literature review and hypothesis development. And then the methodology, again, we have the section in the journal article, the results and discussion, conclusion, the references. It's the structure are, same. It's same for the thesis and the journal article, but there are differences because this is, as in the next bullet, you can see your thesis is a lengthy, right? And you have many number of words compared to a journal article. Now, I have seen some of my students whom I have supervised, so they had 90 to 95 pages in their thesis, and word limit 1,000 to 15,000. And I remember like last year there was a student, her thesis was like around 20,000 wordings, right? So that is a thesis, right? It's a very lengthy, but when it comes to a journal article, so it depends on the journal. There are, different requirements from different journals, but in general, like 5,000 to 7,000 and maximum of 9,000 words limit, word limit is there for a journal article. And then your thesis, so you have the table of contents, like in then the, declaration, acknowledgement, lot of, right, the initial pages are there. But in a journal article, so we can find a very common format. We also can call it as a manuscript. So format, including the abstract, then introduction, so on, right? And then in a thesis, like if you can remember the literature, the chapter 2, it took like a lot of pages, right? So where you summarize all the literature pertaining to your study. But when it's come to the journal article, so it's very brief. It's not only the literature review, but also all the sections. If you take introduction, literature review, methodology, the results and discussion and conclusions. So all are very, it's all are in summarized form compared to your thesis. Now, this is not a hard process because you have already completed and passed the hardest part, right? But here is just, converting your thesis to a journal article. The same thing you have in your thesis, you're going to use them into the journal article. But journal article, it's more towards like making a story, right? So journal article for me, it's kind of a story that you are creating from the beginning to the end. From the beginning, that is from the introduction. So you are starting and then you are connecting literature to the introduction, and then the methodology to the from the literature, and then to the introduction, and the results, and the discussion conclusions all are connected, and you have to write it like a story, right? So therefore it's very brief. Each sections, it's very limited to few pages, right? For example, the introduction, it may be like 2 pages, right? But if you take your thesis, so in your thesis, chapter 1, the introduction, it maybe goes for like 5 to 8 pages, right? So that is the main difference, right? So these are the differences, and the main difference is this is very, lengthy and comprehensive. So your thesis, your dissertation, but the journal article, it's a brief and it's a kind of a summary of your dissertation, right? And all findings are presented in a thesis, but when it's come to a journal article, the selected findings are presented in a journal article. So I will share one of our example, so then you can realize the difference. Then why we should convert your thesis into a journal article? So I already gave you the answer. So mainly to share the findings with various audience, or with a wide audience, because that should be happen, right? Otherwise, how others get to know that you have done this type of study? And otherwise, how they get to know that this gap has been filled by someone, right? So that is why, like, we request and we have made it compulsory for you to convert your thesis into a journal article, right? So then you can approach to many people, and you will see the the results once you publish it. So you can be happy, right? So it is available on the internet, and then once you get the citation for your paper, and then you can realize that the people are actually using your findings to develop their stories, to develop their research gap, right? So that makes you happy, I'm pretty much sure. So then please, start the process as the department requested. So then you will definitely find, you will definitely be delighted at the end of this process, right? And also, when you start, writing a journal article, that will develop your academic writing skills, right? So because writing a dissertation and writing for a journal article, there are slight differences, right? As I said to you at the beginning, like this is kind of a storytelling, story writing. So therefore, there are slight changes, right? So then once you start the process, then maybe I hope that you're not going to end your education with the undergraduate program. Hope you will move on to the next ladder, like next step, the master's and then PhDs and all, right? So therefore, once you start this process from here at this stage, so definitely you will train to do that, right? So you have to, do a research in your master's degree. So therefore, in a master's degree, so then you will get that train, and then once you complete the thesis of your master degree, so then definitely you will be, in a position to easily convert the master thesis into a journal article, because you have gained experience at this level, right? So that is another skill that you have to develop, right? So let me ask a quick question from you all, right? So if you are in a position to give me the answers through the chat box, so you can, send your answers. So what was the most read line of a journal article? Once you're referring to, a lot of literature to develop your research gap, what was the mostly the read, the line of a particular journal article? Is it 1, the first line of the introduction, the last line of the conclusion, or the first line of the results, or is it the title? Can I have the answers quickly? Is it number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Subhani, are we getting the answers from the students?
No, madam, I didn't receive any answers to the chat box.
Come on, students. Yeah, is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay, so got 1 answer. Others? So we have the third years also with us. So they are in the final year now, actually. Yes, that is number 4, the title, right? So then in a research paper, so we start with this, the title, right? So the title is, this is your opportunity to, you know, attract the reader's attention, right? So title of a journal article and the title of your thesis, you know, can be different, right? It doesn't mean that, you know, you have to use the same title which you use for your dissertation to your journal article, right? That you can change, right? So definitely you will get the support from your supervisors. So try to change it because, you know, the title, it should be attractive, right? At the same time, keep in mind that the keywords of your study should reflect it from your title, right? Because, you know, the other people, the you know, researchers who are interested in your area, they're not going to search your paper by, you know, typing the entire title. So they're going to use just the keywords. So therefore, the keywords, definitely you should be, you know, able to cover the keywords from your title. And that should be attractive, right? So it can become as a, you know, in a question form or as a, you know, formal title. It doesn't matter, right? But the main thing is like, should cover the keywords and it should be attractive. It should be, you know, specific, and, you know, it should describe what you have done, right? So everything you're going to, you know, summarize into this title. By looking at the title, then we can imagine the reader should be able to understand what you have done, right? So that should be there. So therefore, you have to pay your attention to the title that you can finalize with your supervisor, okay? And then if I raise another question from you all, what was the most, you know, read, the section of a journal article? So we have introduction, literature review, methodology, the results and discussion, conclusion, abstract. Which one? So as you can remember. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that is abstract, right? So every one of us, you know, start reading the abstracts of a journal article, right? So to see whether this is relevant or not. So we'll start from there, right? So there are some, you know, different arguments on that. We should start from the conclusion, right? However, like as, you know, formal practices, so we start with, you know, by reading the abstract, right? So in abstract of a journal article, right, even in your thesis, you also had the abstract, but as I can remember, like some of the students, they have like many number of words for the abstract for your thesis, but when it's come to a journal article, the mostly accepted, the word limit, it's 250, but it's depend on the journal, right? So you can imagine then we can put thesis in a summarized form into 250 words, right? So that means like it's a very very brief idea and a summary that you are going to produce under the abstract, right? So in abstract, like mainly you have to focus on the introduction in very brief. What is your study and your methodology, the results, and the discussion, right? That is the main, the components that we expect to put into abstract, right? And at the end of the abstract, you will find, like as you did in your thesis, the keywords, okay? The keywords, the reasons why we are putting the keywords. So then if anyone, want to, search your paper, so then you should be able to, identify what are the keywords that, highlighted from your research, right? So then abstract is a summary that you are giving to the readers that what you have done, right? So that you have to, focus for your research paper. That's again, when it's come to journal articles, there are different structures that the different journals are expected from the authors, right? There are structured abstracts and then formal abstracts. So then based on the journal requirements, so you have to, prepare it. And then the introduction. So in the introduction section, like if you take your thesis, in a thesis, you have the background, and then your problem identification, research questions, objectives, significance, and then the chapter organization. So in a research article, the introduction, it's mainly like we have to cover what is the broader picture of your study, and especially the introduction is there for you to convince what is the research gap, right? And also you can, summarize this the bullet. You can see what is the current knowledge about the study area, that is about the review of literature, right? So what is the literature says, and then what is the research gap, and then what are your objectives and hypotheses that you are going to achieve from your study, right? So introduction section, so you can plan for maximum of 2 pages. I think that is enough, right? But introduction, so we are not going to put like the questions and objectives in, point forms, right? That is for your thesis, but introduction, you need to arrange in, paragraphs wise. So then starting from the broader picture and then the research gap. So you need to connect. This is the research gap, and then so we are going to highlight or the achieved objectives like that. So then in paragraph form, so you have to make the story for the introduction, right? And also what is the significant, right? So then you can imagine that introduction section of chapter of your thesis, you had like 5 to 8 pages that you have to convert into 2 pages. So you have to think about, so what are the most important parts that you need to highlight under the introduction? It's not bringing all the things, and don't try to, cut or delete some of the sentences, right? So sometimes you will lose the meaning or the connectivity of the introduction from the beginning to the end, right? That is for the introduction section. So you have to spend certain time on that because don't try to, copy the chapter 1, the content to the journal article and start deleting some of the sentences. It's not like that, right? So introduction is the most important part where, once you submit your paper to a journal article, so the reviewers and initially the editor look at your abstract and then the introduction. So what is the research gap you have highlighted, and what is your contribution from your research paper? So that part is actually highlighted from the introduction section. So therefore, this is crucial in your research paper because you should be able to, get the, interest of the editor to your journal, to your article, and the reviewer's interest, right? So if it's not, structured and written in well, as a story, then you will not, get a chance to publish your paper in a journal, right? So therefore, for this part, you have to spend, significant time compared to other sections because this is where you are developing or starting your story, right? I just share one of the article. Hope this is visible for you.
Yes, madam, it is visible.
Right. So here, like one of my articles, so you can see the abstract that was even less than 250. So introduction, you can see page 1.5, like so 1.5 pages I used for the introduction. And this section, which I have highlighted here, which gives the idea. So what is new in my study, right? So you start from the concepts, right? The main concept of your paper. This is about the default prediction. So therefore I started with the credit risk and then, slowly, then we come to what is the gap. Then I have taken some literature to highlight the research gap, right? So you know everything, but here in the journal article, the purpose is to summarize them and connect them into highlight your research gap, right? So then finally, so what is my contribution, right? And in journal article again, so this section also should be there, this part. The rest of the paper, how do you, organize your research paper? So in your chapter 1, at the end of the chapter 1, so you have to, tell us how you have structured your chapters. In the research paper, you have to tell how you structure your research paper into different sections, right? And then the literature starts, right? The section 2. So if you have gone through several articles, I guess you have identified, okay, you have come across this heading as the section of a research paper, which is the literature review and research hypotheses or hypothesis development, right? So literature review, then that you can arrange into, different subheadings, but it's not, in a research paper. So the journal do not expect for you to, bring a lot of literature into here, right? Because if you go to the reference list, you can see the maximum of 30, the journal articles are, referred in the reference list. But if you take a thesis, there are many, right? So therefore, you have to, analyze, review by yourself. So what are the most important literature that you are going to bring into your research paper, right? But if you take the chapter 2, there are many literature that you have reviewed and that you have, specify in your chapter 2, a lot of pages on that, right? But here you can see, like if I just go down the literature review, 2 pages. Yeah, 2.5 pages for the literature review. And then the development of research hypotheses. So this is important, right? So your, objectives, the questions, objectives, and then if it's quantitative, so you have, develop the hypotheses. And then for the development of research hypotheses, so then you have to provide what are the, rationale on that. Developing, you may have, 3 to 4, or depending on your research, like hypotheses, then you have to provide for each hypothesis. So what is the rationale? Why you are saying or suggesting this type of relationship, right? So for that, you have to, take some literature, identify the relevant literature and summarize them here. And then why you are proposing this, that has to be specified in this section, right? And then that is the section 2. And in section 3, then research methodology. So in research methodology, again, you can see like just a one page actually. So you can see here, it's just a one page, like where, so you have to, introduce your data sample, your population sample, the initial, the design of the research, and then the sampling strategy. And then you have to specify your, if it's a quantitative, then you have to specify your empirical model. So like this, you can see here, the empirical model, right? And then the operationalization of your variables, you can, mention in the methodology section, right? So here, the measurements of variables. So I have mentioned in my paper how I have measured them, right? Or else if it's like a very lengthy set of variables, so that you can, include as an extra. But, if you have enough spaces, then so you can bring it to the same section, right? So methodology, then if it's quantitative, then your data, the population sample, sampling strategy, the model, and the operationalization, you can, include into the section 3 under the methodology, right? Now, in your thesis, hope you can remember the hypotheses, it was under the chapter 3, but in a research paper, like normally we combine that with the literature review, right? Because we need the support from the literature to develop our hypotheses, right? So therefore, literature review and the development of research hypotheses comes as the second heading of the sections of the research paper. And then the results, empirical results. Now this is actually, now you can see in section 4, empirical results. Under that, I have included the data. That is, it may be like depend on the journal requirements, right? If it is not like normally, so we can include the data, the description of your data sample and the population under research methodology, sorry, the methodology section, right? So empirical results, now in a quantitative research paper, quantitative research study, so we are not, supposed to include each and every tables of your thesis into the research paper, right? In a research, in your thesis, you may have like conducted several tests, including, testing of the assumptions of your empirical model, right? So in a research paper, it is not necessary to include all these, tables, all these tests into your research paper, because here it's actually, we need to give the summary and what is most important, right? So therefore, in this paper, if you just go through this paper, like, so I have, included the descriptive statistics, right? In a quantitative paper, you will find this common format where we start with the descriptive statistics, right? And descriptive statistics, and then you can see I have included another table. I think only 2 tables I have included in this paper. Here, only the main results. So this study is based on the logistic regression. So then I have included the results, the main results based on the logistic regression, right? Again, so you can see when you're arranging the tables, so I have put, summarize them into one table where I have run several models, model 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I have, bring into one table, right? Then it is very clear. Now, if you have this type of, setup in your thesis, so try to, summarize them. See how you can connect the results, see which is the best way to, present your results, right? And each table you can see, I hope you will follow these, right? So we need to provide a description, right, at the end. Okay, for the table, you can see the headings, and this is the, unless the journal is specified in a different formats, I have seen this is the, normal, the format for the, template for the, presenting your data in a tabular format, right? So under the table, you can see a description. So what present in this table, you have to highlight that, right? And again, here you can see the same, right? Okay. So that is, the results and discussion. So the results and the discussions you can combine together in a one section, or else you can bring another section into your paper as implication and discussions or discussions, right? So in discussion sections, what we expect, as you did in your thesis, to link your findings with the literature, right? What are the implications of your findings? What it tells, what results, what stories tells from your study, and what it's implied to the industry and to the current literature, so that you have to highlight from in this section. And also the discussion should be carried out by, linking to the literature, current literature, whether it is consistent with the current literature, or is there any contradictions with the current literature, or if there are any contradictions, so then you have to bring the justification and reasons on that, right? So this part in a research paper also very interesting, and this is what finally you contribute, right? So what are your findings, and then what it tells, what it implies, right? So that is, therefore, this section also you have to, be very careful in, writing this section. Try to, connect to your results, and then with the current literature, and with some, justification for, your findings, right? And then, if possible, right, so in a research paper, you will see these robustness test, if possible. So we may, test in a different methods, different variables, which you have used to your main analysis, right? Then we can bring it to, the research paper as some robustness test, right? And then finally, the conclusion and future research directions. So here, the conclusion again, so we are trying to give a summary at the beginning in a research paper, and then summary followed by the key findings, and then the limitations of the study, and then the future research directions. So those are the things actually you have, included into your chapter 5, the conclusion chapter. Here again, so we are going to do the same, but it's a brief summary, and summarize the findings of your thesis and the limitations, and what future research directions that you can provide from your research, right? So that is the structure that normally we find in a in a regular journal article, right? So then I'll skip the slides then, since I have used the article for the explanation. So then once you submit the research paper, so you are definitely, your supervisor will support on that. So either, you will get a very favorable, answer from the journal, from the editor, that you have some corrections to do, and then submit the revised manuscript. Sometime it may get rejected, right? But not to worry on if you get a rejections from a journal, but that's all right. Then you can, revise it, and your supervisors definitely help on that. Then you will submit to another journal, right? So if you get, comments from your supervisor from a particular journal, then you have to, address the comments, right? So what are the comments given by the reviewers, and then you have to go through them, address them, and then you have to provide a response report on that. Then you can submit the revised manuscript to the same journal, right? In a journal publication, this is important. Even your thesis also, you might have checked this. Even from the department level, I think we check it. So plagiarism, right? So you need to check the plagiarism of your journal article before you submit it to a journal article. So you need to check, because this is not recommended, right? So you can't steal anyone's idea or anyone's findings to your thesis without proper references, right? So then you have to be keen on that, so not to cheat or not to steal the others' findings, others' idea, but you can bring them into kind of a paraphrasing format, but then you have to give the proper references on that, right? Yeah, so that's all I have to share with you all. Any questions if you have, you can raise. If not, we can move on to the next session. Okay, so then good luck with your publications. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. That session was indeed very valuable for our students. Next, we will move on to the second session of the workshop that will be conducted by Dr. H.A.K.N.S. Surangi, Senior Lecturer, Department of Commerce and Financial Management, University of Kelaniya. Dr. Surangi has more than 17 years of experience as a lecturer in the entrepreneurship field. She holds a bachelor's degree in BCom from the University of Peradeniya with first-class honors and MPhil degree in entrepreneurship from the same university. She gained her PhD in entrepreneurship from the University of Lincoln, United Kingdom. Her research mainly focuses on, but is not limited to, female entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial networking, social capital, entrepreneurial learning, and small business development. Dr. Surangi's research interests also span across areas such as ethnic minority and immigrant entrepreneurship. She has published in several academic journals. She regularly reviews papers for top-ranked journals and currently supervises 2 PhD students. She is a recipient of the Best Paper Award, the Vice-Chancellor Award for Outstanding Researcher, and the Outstanding Reviewer Award at several research conferences held nationally and internationally. This humble invitation is to Dr. H.A.K.N.S. Surangi, Senior Lecturer, Department of Commerce and Financial Management, to conduct the second session of the workshop. Over to you, madam.
Okay, thank you very much, Subhani. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, madam, you're audible.
Okay, then let me share my presentation first.
Your screen is visible to us, madam.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay, good morning, everyone. So then I was listening to Dr. Ruani's session. Actually, she covered almost all aspects of this topic. So then I'm not going to repeat that. Instead of, I'll focus on how to write a qualitative research paper. Okay. Then you know that actually doing and publishing qualitative research requires same basic skills as a quantitative research. But in addition, there may be special challenges for qualitative researchers. You have already taken that challenge. It means you have already completed your thesis. Now you have to convert your thesis into journal articles. Today, I will help you how to write the qualitative research paper, how to convert your thesis into journal paper. Okay. Then, so you know that the length of the article would be a most common problem for the qualitative researchers. For example, journal word limit is 8,000, but you have around 3,000 words of interview transcript, which you are going to include that. But you can't do that. So you have to prioritize that. You have to choose very important materials for your study. Okay, look at this slide. So you can get some idea about. Okay, then the journal requirements are different. So the first one is your department journal. So once you have prepared your articles, you can send it to them. Word limits, it's around 9,000, I think maximum. Then the second one is our department journal. They also accept finance related articles. Their word limits, it's maximum 10,000. But I would say, I would recommend, so you can prepare your paper, even in the qualitative research paper, the word limit should be around 7,000 to 8,000. But I know that your thesis is maybe around 15,000, 20,000, but you have to take that challenge. You have to limit. Your article is around 7,000 to 8,000. Okay. Then, before starting your write-up, journal articles, I would say, then I would give you some strategies you can use there. Okay. The first strategy is carefully read some examples of well-written qualitative articles, at least 2-3 articles. Then you can get some understanding how these authors have written. What is the structure? Okay. Then, if there is any possibility, become familiar with common reasons why editors reject qualitative articles. Okay, you just Google it and you can find some information before you write up. Next one is choose the right journal. This is very much important. For example, if you are planning to send your article to marketing related journal, definitely your article will be rejected. Reason is your article doesn't fit with the objective or scope of the particular journal. So then you have to read journal instructions carefully. Then consider the format and structure of your article based on the journal requirement. Okay, the last one is actually, this is for the, if you are focusing on the international journal, very indexed journal. So you have to think about look at the editorial board also, whether there are qualitative researchers in the editorial board. This is good strategy, you can use that. Because you know that all the journals do not accept the qualitative research. That's why I mentioned here. After that, you can start your write-up. Okay. This is the qualitative or quantitative research paper outline. So quantitative or qualitative, this is not different from this. There is no differences. But the content is different. This is the structure. Actually, there is no huge difference between quantitative or qualitative research paper, but there are some few differences. Then I will mainly focus on these differences. Okay, let's begin with the title page. Paper titles and author's name, affiliation, and the correspondence author's information. So in the title page, the title is really important. So I heard Dr. Ruani nicely explain that. So it should be very attractive one. It should be very simple. Don't include any technical jargon. If it is really needed, it's all right. Otherwise, avoid that. And also, don't use any abbreviations. The abstract should be, actually, it's a kind of mini statement of your thesis. If someone asks you to summarize your thesis in 1 sentence, your title should be like that. it should give some information about what you have already done. Okay? Then, compared to the quantitative research title, qualitative research title, the context is important. So where you have conduct your research, so you have to include that. So for example, this study based on SME entrepreneurs in Western province. The context is important. The reason is, in qualitative research, actually, you know that we are not going to generalize our finding. Instead of, we need in-depth, rich information. And also human behavior also context specific. So definitely you have to include the context. As Dr. Ruani mentioned, actually you have flexibility to change your research title, because when you send you the article to the journal. Next, move to the next section, abstract. So you know that abstract is a short summary of your longer work. So actually, I'm not going to repeat this section again. So, but I'll give you some important hints. You can use that. Always keep in mind when you write your abstract, so keep it short and simple. Keep it short and simple. And you can use some strategies also. If you need to keep your abstract simple and short, what are the strategies you can use that? The first one is, okay, so avoid some repetition, avoid detailed background information. Then avoid long sentences, avoid passive sentences, and also don't use any citation. So those things can be used in the when you write the abstract. Another things I would like to highlight here. So when to write your abstract, this is also important. So my advice is, sometimes you may be tempted to write the abstract at first, because this is the first part of your research paper. So, but once you have drafted your research full paper, then later on you can write your abstract. Then let's move to the next section, introduction section. Okay. The introduction section, in the quantitative research or qualitative research, there is no much differences. What you need to do that first, actually it should not be longer. So ideally is 1 page, no more than 2 pages. Okay? First you can present your topic and give some information about the context, and also include rationale for why your topic is important. Next, you can give some background information. The second paragraph, I would say, specifically you can focus on the previous research. What is the major argument in the particular area? So what other research have already done in the particular area? Based on that, then you can position your study. How your study is different from others. What is your originality? Then you can include your research problem, why you are doing this study. So once you have introduced your research problem, then bring your research questions also. Another important thing is, as the last paragraph, you can include your overview of the paper structure. Actually, when we receive some paper for the reviewing, so I noticed that many researchers miss this section, paper structure. So how you are going to organize your paper? Okay, next section, focus on literature review, something like that. Then next, move to the literature review section. So you know that actually your dissertation may include more than 15 pages, 20 pages. But in the literature review also, in the journal paper, it should not be very lengthy. Okay? This is also not really different from the quantitative research. But there is a specific difference. you know that quantitative researchers mainly focus on their variables and hypothesis developed in this section. So they have to give the justification for their hypothesis development. But you know that in qualitative research, based on the nature of your qualitative research, we are not going to introduce any hypothesis. But what you can do here, so you can mainly focus on your main research question. How other researchers have tried to answer for this type of questions. Okay? This is important. Another thing is when you structure your literature review, try to structure literature review by themes, sub-themes or subtopic, not by the researcher's name. For example, if you see something like that, each paragraph begins with the researcher's name, what it implies, what it says. So it means you have just reported those things. That is not the way you need to do your literature review. Okay? Keep in mind that one also. The next thing is, in the literature review section, you can include the theoretical background, theoretical framework also. There is some misconception. Some researchers mistakenly believe that there should not be theoretical background for qualitative researchers. That is wrong. Then if you have used some particular theory or grand theory for your research, you can bring them here. So one paragraph is enough, more than enough. So you can explain those theories and describe how these theories related to your study. So actually, when we review the articles, journal papers, I noticed that many researchers actually miss this part. I mean the theoretical background section. So then it's better to include that section also. Then it's complete that section. Okay, then let's move to the methodology. This is really different from the quantitative research methodology section. So in the methodology section, you don't need to give the lot of information, but so it should be brief, but it should include the following sections also. You can start with this section with research philosophy. So for the quantitative researchers, they don't have to specifically mention their philosophy, because they have only one philosophy. But if you have chosen qualitative methodology, you know that there may be a number of research philosophy. It may be constructionism, social constructionism, interpretivism, or critical theory, feminism. Then you have to clearly mention what is your philosophy and few information about the justification, why you have chosen this particular philosophy. Okay, for example, this study adopts the social constructionism approach and give the justification. Then give some information about why qualitative over quantitative. So for example, you can explain that something like that. Okay, this research is more into human behavior, emotions, interaction, then qualitative would be most appropriate. Or this research is under research area. There is no particular developed theories. So because of this reason, then qualitative would be most appropriate. Something like that. Give the brief justification, 2-3 sentences enough. Then explain what is your qualitative research type. You know that there are different types of qualitative research. It may be the case study, narratives, grounded theory. So then you explain what is your research. Okay, this research adopts the case study. It's because of this research problem is very complex. And also this research problem focus on the contemporary issue. That's enough. Or you can just explain this research is mainly based on the participant, their identity, their language, culture, their history. So then this research mainly focus on the narrative would be more suitable for this research, something like justification. The first paragraph, you can include your research philosophy, reason for qualitative research, and qualitative research type. So for this section, I would recommend it there are 3 paragraphs, not more than that. In the second paragraph, then you can explain what is your sampling method. Okay. What would be your sample method? Maybe the purposive sampling, maybe the combination of the particular sampling method. You know that in qualitative research, you can use the combination. For example, heterogeneity and snowball sampling method. So you have to include that one also. In addition to give information about your sample size also. Okay, then 10 interviews were conducted, something like that. In addition to, you have to explain your data collection method. Okay, because you know that. So you are mainly depend on the text and other photos and other things. Then what is your data collection method? A structured interview or in-depth interviews, or you have used the observation? Clearly mention that. And also another important thing is you have to give some information about the interview experience. Where did you conduct your interviews? What is the average time of interviews? Then who decided venue, the interview venue, time, and something like that. So you have to give some information about the dynamic of the interviews, your experience. Then data analysis method. Okay, then you can use the different type of data analysis. It may be the content analysis or thematic analysis, framework analysis, whatever thing. So you have to mention that what is your data analysis and how you have analyzed your data. For example, if I use thematic analysis, so then you can explain actually how you have used the thematic analysis. Apart from that, so you can include some 2-3 sentences about the trustworthiness of your research. In quantitative researchers use the reliability and validity, but qualitative researchers use trustworthiness. But if you have conducted the qualitative case study research, you are also familiar with the word reliability and validity, but this is different from the quantitative studies. To enhance the validity, so you can use some strategies like triangulation or member check-in or something like that. So you can explain your strategies. Finally, say something about the ethics. This is really important. So as a qualitative researcher, you have to mainly focus on the ethics, knowing and doing the right things. So when you look at the ethics, there are 2 sides of ethics, procedural ethics and practical ethics. So then you know that when you present your data, sometimes you can't reveal the real names. Instead of, you can use the participants' fake name. We use the word pseudonyms. So those are the ethics. And also you have to keep confidentiality of the participants' data. Then how you have achieved this ethics? What you have done to conduct your research ethically, then you can explain that. I would say you don't need to include detailed information. You can use 2-3 sentences. Okay, this is the methodology section. Then next section is results and discussion. Again, this is really different from the quantitative study. As I mentioned earlier, we are dealing with text and photos. Quantitative researchers, they have numbers, but we do not have numbers. Then when you present so you should, in this section, you have to present your themes, because you know that you have already completed your analysis, your dissertation, then you have some understanding. They present your themes in the systematic way. So I would suggest you to present your themes based on your research questions. So it's really easy for reader to understand. So very systematically. And also give enough raw data, but not too much. Earlier, I gave some example. If you interview 10 people, you can't bring all the quotations. So you have to prioritize. You have to choose most rich information. Sometimes you have conducted 10 interviews, but you have to bring only one interview's quotations. So you have to do the prioritize when you write the journal articles. You can't include all the information, but you have flexibility when you write up the thesis. You may have included that, but not in the journal articles. Another important thing is, so I know that many researchers actually, they just brought the participants' extract quotations, but not interpretation. Interpretation is missing. So when you brought the participant quotations, then think about actually, what is your idea about these quotations? Then you can link your experience with this information. Then it reminds you some theory, you can relate that. And also, if it reminds you some literature, you can go back to the literature, compare and contrast. Actually, you can do the discussions also here. The last section is the conclusion. So the conclusion is actually, it summarizes the overall findings. Apart from Dr. Ruani mentioned, so then you can just include here your contribution also. So what are how you have contributed? So for example, in qualitative research, if you have developed the model, so that would be a good contribution to the particular area. Then you can just mention that. The methodological contribution also in your area, there are a few qualitative research. Then that would be your research would be you can do some methodological contribution. So in addition to, you can include limitation and future research agenda also. You know that every and each dissertation, thesis, paper has a limitation. Not 100% perfect. Then you can include your limitation. Based on this limitation, you can suggest the future research also. But this section should not be too lengthy. Preferably 2 or 3 paragraphs is enough. Finally, you have to include the references also. It's again depend on the journal requirements. Then you, based on the journal requirements, you can include that. It may be AP or Harvard system. Another most important thing is, so each source you cite in the paper should appear in your reference list. Vice versa, each reference in the reference list must be cited in your text. This is important thing. And also, next thing is the plagiarism. I am not going to discuss that because you have already got some idea. Then I'll skip this. Then there are some common reasons why editors decline qualitative articles. Actually, I think this is also discussed earlier, so I'll skip this one also. Okay, that's it about today's session. Then if you have any clarification questions, so you can ask me. Any clarification questions? Okay, if not, shall we wind up? So thank you very much and good luck with your writing your research paper.
Thank you very much, Madam, for that very informative session, which is indeed valuable for our students. Madam, can we please have a screen sharing option? Thank you. Now we have reached the end of the 11th Students Research Symposium under the theme Revitalizing MSMEs to Develop the Export Economy in Sri Lanka. Once again, thank you very much for joining with us today and have a great day.
This session. Then if you have any clarification questions, so you can ask me. Any clarification questions? Okay, if not, shall we wind up? So thank you very much and good luck with your writing your research paper.
Thank you very much, Madam, for that very informative session, which is indeed valuable for our students. Madam, can we please have a screen sharing option? Thank you. Now we have reached the end of the 11th Students Research Symposium under the theme Revitalizing MSMEs to Develop the Export Economy in Sri Lanka. Once again, thank you very much for joining with us today and have a great day.